Good afternoon, it's Friday, April 23rd, and I'm back in the Read Nook on what is a bright, sunny and warm afternoon with a nice hot cup of tea and some parcels to open. So, I'm going to get to the next one, which is this. This here. Oh, we don't need that. That's the seat. This is Orbital. Orbital is a sci-fi RPG of precarious spaces amid interstellar war. You'll find airlocks and control panels, pensive faces looking out into the cosmos. Improvised fixes for critical systems, military-sponsored subterfuge, warm embraces in the cold vacuum, frantic struggles in zero gravity, and unknowable ancient technology, asking, what do you do next? In Orbital, you start by creating your own space station with your friends, filling it with interesting people and threatening it with impending dangers. You'll all create and own aspects of the setting, taking a shared ownership of your world and your story. You also create your own character, especially who can push back against the threats you're facing. Together, you'll explore your station, its people, and their problems using the simple no dice, no master system that puts the focus on character relationships, community struggles, and player choice. Through play, you'll determine your community's fate and as equal storytellers in your own unique story. This is published by Mousehole Press. Okay, now I said Mousehole, it's spelled Mousehole, but traditionally that tends to be spelled tends to be pronounced Mousehole, as in the Cornish village. So we'll get inside. It's quite plain inside. Gold, interesting use of gold and blue text, and I think that really works together. This gives it basically almost a majestic feel to it. There's a sense of scope, and you get inside, and this is quite an original look. Pretty in its colours, and the contrast really works very well. So it's easy to read, just even looking at it. So you think a neutral community on the brink. Imagine an all-consuming interstellar war spread across the vast galaxy and involving trillions of willing and constricted participants. Then imagine a lone space station, ancient and strange, somehow set apart from this conflict. Through significant effort and fortuitous circumstance, it has remained unaffiliated and relatively peaceful, providing a sanctuary for the lovers and thinkers refusing to side with the warring powers. But this hard-won neutrality is not even slightly secure. There's always someone offering vital resources for parental influence, plotting to displace our leaders or smuggling military equipment into the station's forgotten corners. So straight away, with that description, I'm thinking Babylon 5. I mean, that's the obvious kind of setting that you go with, because that's the most well-known science fiction setting on a space station. I mean, the other one to look at there is obviously Deep Space Nine, but that's probably not. I mean, certainly. I don't know whether. I mean, they're similar, but one's a bit more. How can I put it? Working class or blue collar, in a sense, than the other, which is what I think they're getting at here. And essentially you play misfits, rebels and troublemakers. Essentially you have fled to this space station, you've made it home, and you want to keep it like that. Essentially, instead of a game master, you've got a facilitator who plays and also eases play as well. That's her role. Essentially, what's nice is what you've got an idea of things going on in the station, and essentially just an illustration, just as how to play, and it's used almost as here's a great hoarding or neon sign, how to play, but it's against this background of the place where people are living and working, and that's a nice touch. Let's have a look. So yeah, and then essentially you go into it, and it's start to finish, and is it preparing to play, creating the setting, starting play, continuing play, ending play, and so there's the guide to how you do that, and then we go into depth. So lay it down, preparing to play. What you need: 3 to 6 players, including you, a few hours, a comfortable place to sit, a copy of the sheets for the station, aspects and characters, writing utensils, tokens, and so on. It describes the play area, and online play. If you're playing online, the setup process is necessarily different. However, there are dedicated files and instructions available to download and help you set up online play. And playing the game, it says collaborate and listen. And essentially, each player has a character and aspect of the setting in front of you, and you'll share responsibility for telling a good story. So it's a storytelling a role-playing game, rather than necessarily. It's a role-playing game. It's a storytelling role-playing game. You know, it rather than sort of like a typical role-playing game where you tell stories through play. You're telling stories. Essentially, you're telling the story of the station rather than necessarily telling the story of the individuals. And then you're talking about how you play here, taking your turn, catching your breath afterwards, and essentially framing scenes and the like. And then temperature check. What is reading the station? When you read the station, step out your character's role, portray different groups' attitudes and feelings concerning a particular issue. Choose the topic. So, for example, it might be: should we accept deserters as refugees, or the deserters will bring the war upon us? And that's dealing with that. That's really essentially. You have a shared narrative in this. That's stepping outside your character to tell the overall story. And then we come on to ending the game, the aftermath, the station, and you basically debrief and essentially discuss the game, what's happened, and sort of like see what happens afterwards. And we have description of the station, a home in the cosmos, the threats it faces, what it looks like, and potential aspects, like slice of strife, so interstellar war, station itself, markets, scum and villainy, unaffiliated to Lambert Strand, which is a glowing thread weaving every Lambert strand, weaving every life together, and so on. And as a complete guide to the characters, and again, this artwork is fantastic. I really like this. This is a sense of place. It's a place where people are working and living, and it's really good. Captures the feel of the station. There is something almost a little bit anime-esque or manga-esque, I would say, to this, but also at the same time, obviously that's through. You've got the Japanese kanji, the text there, but essentially it's also got certain feel of the Euro comics as well. So it's you've got a guide to alternative rules at the back as well. So that's Orbital, and there's a soundtrack you can download as well to that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting thing. Essentially, it's an indie game in the style of Fiasco, or probably closer to Microscope, I would think, in general, where in Microscope you're generally telling the grand tale of history of an empire, or of Georgina's time at college, and you're telling it in eras and ages, and right down to individual scenes where you role play. With this, it's the history of a station, and basically what it means is that every time You can play the same station, you can play a different station. Essentially, you could play almost each session could be a season in itself. So that's Orbital from Mousehole Press. It's a really charming little book. I really like the look of it. The use of the blue and the gold is very striking. And that's available from all good role-playing vendors. Okay. Well, thank you for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please do click the like button. If you have any comments or feedback, please feel free to add them. I do take the time to answer them. And if you want to see more unboxings in the Nook, please do subscribe. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.